All right, we're gonna get started. Give people a minute to come in because I will be having a guest today. And that means that it won't just be me talking. Woohoo! Where are you at, Maria? How do I find you? How do I find you? Yeah, let me just invite Trixie Mattel to fucking go live with me. Okay. Search. Here we go. Maria. Here we go. Nope, I can't do it because she's not on live. Okay. That's okay. We're gonna share it with her so she knows where to go. And then we'll get started. Make sure to come on in and tap the screen, everybody. Start tapping. We're gonna get started as soon as Maria comes in and jumps on with us. Today we're talking about stress management tips. Okay? Maria is gonna help y'all out. Because I know we're all stressed on here. Here we go. There she is. Okay. Oh.
Is that working?
Have you up here.
Okay, wait. Hi. Never done this, so I'm figuring stuff out
No, you're
as I
fine.
go.
I'm just making sure. Okay. I don't know how I can get the hold on. Why can't I do this? Okay. Well, whatever. We'll just leave you up there.
Okay, where
I
am
can
I?
figure it out to make it so that it's both of us side by side, but apparently I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
That's how it is on my screen.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
And can you hear me okay? Because my headphones have been weird.
Yeah, I can hear you. Let me grab my headphones real quick.
Okay, sounds good. Hello. Glad to be here on Reagan's live. I've never done a TikTok live, so this is exciting.
Now I should be connected through my headphones. That
Yeah,
way we don't
that's
have
better.
any like weird feedback and stuff happening.
No, it sounds good to me.
Okay. Also, I'm like eating my lunch right now. How was your call?
It was good. I just had a coaching call. Covered a lot of ground in one call, so it was great.
Nice.
There's like 3 different issues we managed to go through on a call.
Excellent.
So that was fun. Love when that happens, when we're like zooming through multiple things.
Yeah. I'm just seeing how I can share. Why is it not giving me the option to share anymore? Oh, here we go. So if you click on the 3 dots in the bottom, you should be able to share if you want to send it to any mutuals. Your list should come up.
3 dots on the bottom. I don't see that. I see
Bottom right, maybe?
I see the arrow. Okay, I see. Yeah.
Share, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna share it out to some folks.
That sounds good.
And friends, while you're hanging out in here, make sure that you follow Maria and also be tapping on the screen. Move, Mira. Also, you can't see my little board up here, but I do have number 1, we're going to be grabbing our daily heart me, which is the orange heart up here by my name. Maria, if people come in through your invitation, they should see an orange heart as well on yours. And that is their daily heart me. So that is a way for them to join your team. It allows them to get notifications when you go live. And because we're going live together, you should have access to go live after this. But
Okay. I think I need to be at 1,000 to go live. Is based on my 2-minute Google research, which may be incorrect.
yeah, there's like ways to get around that. Apparently, I've seen people do it that have less than 1,000 followers, but I obviously did not try it myself. I just had to get to 1,000 first. But
Yeah,
while we're on here, maybe we can get your numbers up. So
that would be
anyways,
great.
yeah, but we're gonna hang out for just a couple minutes anyways. Maybe we can get your numbers up. So
That would be
anyways,
great.
yeah, but we're gonna hang out for just a couple minutes anyways. Wait for some folks to come in. Just a couple minutes anyways. Wait for some folks to come in. La Chula, please. Screen and then grab your daily heart me and share out the live. So click on the share button below. Share, copy link, share it with mutuals, friends. Help us get this live out. I'm going to the Beyonce show this weekend, right? And so one of my clients makes sashes for like beauty pageants. Like she specifically makes sashes for beauty pageant contestants and like winners and stuff. So on Beyonce's album cover for her Cowboy Carter album, she's wearing like this. Yeah. So I sent the picture to my client and I was like, can you make us sashes like this? And she did. So I just went and picked those up. I'm really stoked.
I love that.
I'm so excited.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm like, it pays to have clients that do all sorts of random things.
I've seen her twice before. I
Really?
saw her on the Formation tour, and then I saw her on the tour that she did with Jay. That was really fun. But I haven't seen her in like since before COVID. So I would love to go see her again, but I think
this
that's
is my
right
first
when
time
I'm gonna
seeing her. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you're in for a treat.
Isn't she gonna be in DC like the 4th of July weekend or something?
Maybe, and I'm out next weekend, so maybe that was one of it. I wasn't sure if it was like next weekend or in August when I'm out. It was one of the times when I'm out of DC.
Because I feel like she would do that. She would be doing her Cowboy Carter show in DC on 4th of July weekend. That is very Beyonce.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, so by the way, I wanted to ask, I plan to download this video and put it onto YouTube if that's okay with you.
Yeah,
and just like have that out there, maybe as like a little kind of podcast episode or something.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that way you can share it with your people.
I can share it. Yeah, perfect. Love that.
Yeah. Friends that are just joining us, make sure that you're tapping on the screen and grabbing your daily heart me, clicking that orange heart up next to my name, sending in your daily heart me, and then tapping on the screen. Also, I'm joined I'm joined by my friend Maria today, who how do you identify as a coach? Like an anxiety coach or?
Yeah, I've blended on burnout and stress management because I figured that those are, I mean, obviously I help people with other stuff too, but those are the primary two things that I help like everyone with. So burnout and stress management is how I identify as a coach.
It's like, what are your coach pronouns? Like
burnout, stress management.
Yeah. My pronouns are stressed and anxious.
Yeah, those two.
Yeah, so I thought maybe we could just like have a conversation about stress management tips, because especially right now, but this is like always the case for those of us that, I don't want to say struggle with, but experience more anxiety than other folks. There's always something that is kind of like triggering that response of like, I have to be focused on something, or I have to pay attention to this thing because it might be a threat. And I thought that it's useful for right now, but it's also useful every other moment of our lives, and especially for business owners. How can we take steps towards stress management? Maybe like in the moment, but also,
Mhm.
there has to be a practice of like
Yeah.
grounding and management every day, even when you're not experiencing anxiety and stress. So,
Yes.
can you share with us something about those tools?
Yes, that's like a lot I can say about that.
Yeah.
There's like you said, there's two categories, right? There's like in the moment when you're just feeling like what do I do? And then there's just how do I, which is what I specialize in, like how do I make my day to day, especially like work related, but it doesn't also have only have to be work related. Like how do I make my day to day not so stressful, not so like loaded. The reason I talk so much about work is I just recently, you know that, but others might not. Recently left like a corporate job that was
Mm.
very, very stressful, very intense for many years. I've been doing it for 18 years. I was in a job where everything was always an emergency drills, lots of like emails requests. So that's where I like focus a lot of my content on. Like if you're finding yourself in a similar situation, whether it's a corporate job or just any other situation where it feels like everything is on fire all the time, aside from just our world being on fire all the time,
Yeah.
like what do you do with that? I
Yeah.
think in the moment right now, I'm going to start with the latter actually, because that's on everyone's minds, right? Like the
Mm. Mm-hmm.
it's just on fire. What the fuck do we do with this? Um, I think that this is where a lot of like nervous system regulation stuff comes in because we have to
Mm-hmm.
calm down that initial like response before we can
Yeah.
do and access anything else. Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
possible to access our brains and our thoughts and like taking practical steps while our body thinks that we're in immediate danger and stuff is happening immediately to us. So
Mm-hmm.
calming that down, whatever that looks like for you in terms of nervous system like regulation, whether that's breathing, tapping, dancing,
Mm-hmm.
walking, yoga. There's many of the biggest nerve exercises.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you've tried in the past and works for you, use those tools
Mm-hmm.
initially. And then once you get to a more like a less activated place, then think about then you can access your brain and be like, okay, what is actually helpful and what isn't. So if you find yourself just doom
Yeah.
scrolling and only reading horrible news and only following accounts, that was my feed for a while. In April I was kind of losing it because my whole feed was just people saying the most sort of, stuff is scary enough. I'm not saying stuff isn't horribly scary right now, but
Yeah.
also it's not helpful to follow people who are not necessarily rooted in the facts. They're just like panic all the time panic.
Listen,
So yeah,
you know how I feel about those people that are like capitalizing on the moment, sharing misinformation just for views, likes, clicks, and I'm like, hey, stop. Like,
stop it. Yeah,
nobody's nervous system is capable of handling this unless they are like the most yogi, like zen, whatever. Like, a lot of us are having to deal with that every day, just the
yes,
onslaught of information. So, like, saying to myself, I don't have to watch this, I don't have to
yes,
participate in this. Like, what am I going to do with this information? Seriously? I'm
right,
not in charge of any of that. Like,
right. Yeah, and just follow like making. I was very intentional with my like feed and algorithm. Like I
mhm,
changed my
mhm,
algorithm to follow people who have good information but are not in
mhm.
panic mode. They're like, yeah,
Right.
you need to stay informed, but doesn't keep you informed. That's the other thing. Like panic is just panic. It doesn't
Yeah.
actually keep you informed. It doesn't help you take constructive action. Like it helps no one, especially you, but also
Yeah.
no one else. So yeah,
Yeah,
just
because,
like
like,
be intentional with what you consume. Yeah.
yeah. And it's so important to name that, like, the panic is not helpful. Like,
Mm,
how, if you actually were in a situation where somebody else was in danger and you could do something about it, how would panicking contribute to that? It would take away
right.
from your ability to make judgment calls and to act responsibly and to call upon, like, I was talking about this yesterday with my therapist. I'm like, I'm CPR first aid certified, so like in an emergency I need to be able to recall that information,
Right.
not running around like screaming and not being able to help. Like, if I have the training, I need to be able to access that, and that panicking is not how you do that. So like
Right.
we don't need to be panicking, but also when we're sitting on our couch scrolling,
Exactly.
that's not useful either. Like that it's never a helpful experience to be panicking about information that you can do nothing with.
Right, right. Panic doesn't actually help you prepare. It fools you into thinking you're being prepared. It doesn't actually help you prepare. If you are
Yeah.
actually legitimately worried about a particular scenario, you can take steps to prepare as best as you can without the panic. And it's going to be much easier to do that without the panic. But also, a
Yeah.
lot of the scenarios, like you said, that people are currently talking about on
Spun
this
up.
app are just kind of not realistic. They're just for clicks, like you
Yeah.
said, like just to activate people. Which let's
Yeah.
filter the information between like who actually knows what they're talking about versus who is just
Right.
in panic mode themselves and trying to suck you in.
Yeah, I think it's helpful to like practice that questioning of like
Mm.
I'm feeling a little bit, and it requires that you are actually like consistently tapped into your body, which is like the daily practice, like we were talking about. But when
Mhm.
you do notice yourself starting to panic, it's a good idea to maybe question, like, okay, but why am I seeing this information? Who's telling it to me? What do they get out of saying this? Like, all of that. And practicing that questioning can be a way to like activate the part of our brain that can do critical thinking rather than the lizard brain that's trying to hide in the
Mhm.
cave and stay safe. What are, because you mentioned like tapping, shaking, going for a walk, yoga.
Yeah.
How do we use the body to bring us back into like regulation window of tolerance?
Yeah. So when you do find yourself going into that panic mode or you're already there, first of all, leave your phone. Like just for a little bit.
Turn
Like
it
the phone
off.
is not going to help you regulate. Just put it away for a
Yes.
second, and then just sort of start building that awareness of what your body needs at any given moment. So
Mm,
sometimes you have a lot of like hectic nervous energy going through your body, and that's where like a lot of movement is I find really helpful, like maybe dancing or jumping around or
mm-hmm.
shaking, like whatever feels good in terms of movement. Just do
Yeah.
that. Just like work out some of that energy. Um,
Yeah.
and then you can like do some more of the other stuff like breathing or some vagus nerve exercises. If you feel like the other end of the spectrum, which is like you're going into a freeze mode,
Right.
I think I find that really helpful in those cases to like bring some awareness of stuff around you, like smell a candle, just senses, going to
Yeah.
your senses. Just start
Mm-hmm.
listening to like I give myself the task of I'm gonna find all the places where there's purple in my living room, and that really takes
Yeah.
me into like, okay, I'm scanning for
Yeah.
purple. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. What's my favorite color? Where is it around
Where
me?
is it exactly?
Yeah.
So just
Hmm.
anything to bring you back to. So whether you're like down regulated or up regulated, bring yourself back to, like you said, that window of tolerance, back to the middle.
Yeah. So good to know that there's that connection between mind and body and to like,
Yeah.
be able to use our body and our senses to bring us back down or back up to acting and behaving normally. I tend to have like the freeze fawn response, which is
Mm.
like I feel stuck or unable to like move, speak, whatever. Or in fawn, it's like who's upset with me and how can I just placate them and like their
Yes.
emotions and stuff and like focus on the game of like how do I get them to feel better. And I find it very, because that's the hypo regulation where you like go
Yes.
into freeze and fawn. So like going for a walk, being able to reorient myself and my
Yeah.
surroundings. I do the somatic shaking. I had to do that last week. I had a really like traumatic experience in my house, and I had to like everything in my bag. I was just like pulling out all of my
Yes.
coping tools, and I was like doing the whole shaking thing for like 5 minutes, and having that movement and connection to your body can help you get out of that like okay, I am actually not in danger, there are no
Yeah.
threats around, but I need to, you have to like metabolize the energy
Yes.
out of your body just like you would process food in your digestive system and
Yes.
send it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's really hard, if you're in this really frozen, I've been going into that a lot too. Really
Yeah.
frozen state. Start small. Start by like just again, first of all, put the
Mm-hmm.
phone away, and second of all, like start like
Yeah.
moving your hands, like doing circles with your hands, like
Yeah.
with your feet.
And you could do
Start
that if you were
small.
in a meeting, like in your lap.
Exactly.
You could like move your
Exactly.
wrists in your lap so that you're reconnecting with your body. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to be like
100%.
huge shaking and dancing
Exactly. Do I have
either.
to start doing jumping jacks on the meeting?
Yeah. The person on Zoom is like, "Are you good?" Like
They're like, yep, I'm regulating.
exactly. Corinne Law, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure that you grab your daily heart me. You should see a little orange heart up here next to either my name, or if you're watching from Maria's side, it'll be next to her name. Send in your daily heart me. We're taking questions. We can answer some questions about stress management. That is our topic for the live. So is bookkeeping a stressful business? I don't know. Maria, do you want to answer
Mm.
whether or not certain industries or business types or careers are more stressful than others? What's your response?
That's a great question. I mean, I think there's a variation in like how people act in different industries, and that could be
Mm,
so like in some industries, like the one I was in econ consulting, people act like we're constantly in a state of emergency.
right.
And there are a lot of like messages of like panic, a lot of emails that are
Yes.
like urgent. So if that like obvious, some people find that exciting. I know people in that industry who are like,
Yeah.
that gives me life. Like I wake up and I'm like ready to go.
It
Great.
couldn't be me, boss. Sorry, I can't.
Right, right. So like just knowing the fact. So nothing is okay. I guess the answer is nothing is like inherently stressful or
Mm.
not. It's just what you personally thrive on. And then even if you don't personally thrive on the like panicking emails, you can make it less stressful for yourself, which is what I did with all the coaching work that I do. Before I
Mm-hmm.
even left
Mm-hmm.
the job, I made it so much less stressful for myself with all the tools.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the emails, but they don't nearly affect me the
Mm.
same way that they used to. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it really depends on like what things are stressful to you, but also with the caveat that you can make anything less stressful for yourself, any kind of work with
Yeah.
those tools that I teach.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think like I knew when I quit my job a couple years ago, I was doing bookkeeping but at like an accounting firm. When
Mm-hmm.
I quit that job, I was under so much stress. But before I left too, I knew like I'm not just going to go change my work environment and magically solve all of these
Yep.
feelings that I have that I don't know what to do with. Like, but it was like I still need to get out of there either way.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but I wanted to make sure that I focused on building my business around setting good boundaries, like setting my working hours, the type of work that I'm doing, the way I communicate with people, the way I work. I want it to be less stressful, but it requires, excuse me, it requires the work of, like you were saying, like developing those practices of like mindfulness, self coaching, mindset work, being able to create the environment, like the emotional environment that you want to have for
Yeah.
yourself. So I think some people would say, like, well, I actually do have people tell me, like, oh, I bet tax season is just so stressful. I'm like, well, I don't do taxes.
Right.
So it's
Right.
not.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
like
yeah.
yeah, sorry. The flip side of what you just said is if we don't do that internal work, people think that just changing jobs, like you said, just going to a new place is going to solve all their problems because they're like, well, my problems are my current boss, my current colleagues, my
Mm-hmm.
current, without realizing
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of the stress actually comes from inside. So then they go to a new
Yeah.
place, their brain goes with them, and then they're like, what? Same things are happening. I'm like, yes, you took the same thought patterns, the same nervous system, the same brain. Yeah, it might be different circumstances, but you're gonna experience a lot of the same patterns.
Yeah, and you could, like, I was experiencing like an actually abusive situation, like financial and emotional abuse. And like once I woke up to that, I was like, even if I do fix my mind about this person, they're still going to be doing things that are
Yeah,
illegal, number one. And like,
right.
number two, like, actively harmful to me. And so even if I do fix my mind around like, okay, I want to continue working here, like, is that even the best choice? So
Yeah.
being able to have that clarity too,
Yes,
of
a
like, I'm
hundred
not going
percent.
to just heap all the responsibility about how I feel onto somebody
Oh
else.
yeah.
I can take responsibility for that at the same time as just acknowledging like, and I don't want this. I don't want any more of this.
100%. Yeah, the fact that we can like manage our thoughts and nervous system doesn't mean we should
Yeah.
stay in like shitty situations.
Yeah.
For sure, like 100%. You'll get to decide,
Yeah.
but you're gonna be able to make that decision a lot better when you do manage your thoughts and your nervous system. And then it
Exactly.
becomes so clear. You're like, no, I actually just really don't want this. But you also are aware that going to the next job is not gonna just make you sublimely happy for the rest of your life. You're still gonna have to do some
Yeah.
of the work, but you get to choose another job if you're in a shitty situation and you
Yeah.
want to escape that. Yeah, that's always an option. It's never like, no, stay in the shitty situation and just manage your thoughts. No, we're not doing that.
Like,
No,
how is that helping anybody?
we're
No,
not
that's
doing
not
that
what
at
we're.
all.
No. No, we're
Yeah,
not saying that. So when it comes to, in the moment, feeling ourselves start to be activated by information or panic, but it doesn't even have to be like scrolling on TikTok and seeing
yeah,
some
yeah.
person talking about world events or whatever. It could be an email landed in your inbox that maybe you were expecting and dreading, or you weren't expecting it and now it's something you have to deal with. Like,
Yes.
if it's not scrolling on TikTok, which we could say turn it off, put away the phone.
Yeah.
If it's a work thing that we have to address, okay, then what?
Then what? Yeah. Okay. So then that I split things into short term and long term. Short term, still some of the nervous system regulation that we talked about. Like it's impossible the second you get activated by the email to go into anything else until you regulate. So still some of that work. And then once you regulate, and then we coach on why was that email so stressful? Like what came up for you? It could be, and then like getting really curious about that other than just like, well, the email said urgent. Okay, the email can say whatever
Someone
words.
just labeled it
Yeah,
urgent,
the
so it
email can
must
say
be.
whatever words it wants to. Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have to take those seriously. So maybe part of the work is exactly, and that's a big part of actually work stress is we absorb other people's thoughts. The fact that somebody thought something was urgent doesn't actually make it urgent. Somebody just had a thought, and like they shared it with you, and you don't have to adopt it. But we've been conditioned
Yeah.
to adopt it, right? Like, in a lot of us, that goes like back to whatever, like childhood, and we were trying to make our parents happy. Like, it's very deeply wired. We're like, if someone's upset with me, that's dangerous. So if they think it's urgent, I need to act as if it's urgent so that they don't get upset with me. That's sort of the thought there. And so we work on that. Like, is it really dangerous if you don't respond to someone's like hectic messages within 2 seconds of getting them? Is it really like failing at your job if you wait a few hours and you finish your other work? Like, let's question some of those premises, because right now there's a lot of thoughts there that are like incorrect, but they make you very stressed day to day.
Yeah. And like, is it also someone who's in a position of authority over you or has some
Right.
sort of control of your
Right.
employment? And I mean, there's so many layers to that with work stress specifically, and like you said, kind of our people pleasing tendency of I don't want to make anybody else upset with me specifically, but like at all. And
Right.
there's a lot of stuff that comes up from childhood about like people are upset with me. I'm gonna be in trouble.
Exactly. Oh no. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, like it's kind of funny. This is something that I say to like my clients or other people because they're like, "Oh, that must be so stressful, the work that you do." And I'm just like,
Yeah.
"But there are no emergencies in bookkeeping. I'm not calling 911 to be like, "Hey, this person's QuickBooks is fucked up." Okay?
Exactly.
That's not an emergency. The tax return deadline is the same every year. You knew it was coming. Just because you're 2 days away from that without your shit done isn't actually an emergency. Like, it was always that date. So I tell folks, no emergencies in accounting. No, it's really not life or death about accounting being correct or not, or there being a mistake on payroll. Like, okay, that can be fixed. So, but 5 years ago, that was not my thinking. It was like responding with that activation of like something's wrong or needs to be corrected, and we respond with that like fear.
Yeah.
Something's gonna happen. I'm gonna be punished or something for that. Like, and so I had to do a lot of work to move away from that. But sometimes putting a little spin on it of like, I'm not calling 911 about QuickBooks. even if they piss me off when I'm on the phone with their support. Like there's
100%.
no emergencies in bookkeeping. And I tell you, I had to practice that. It's like saying it aloud, thinking there's no emergencies in accounting. Like there's no reason to
Yeah.
respond to this as an emergency, no matter how the other person feels about it. It's
Yeah.
just not it.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like the one I was practicing was like the fact that someone thinks it's urgent doesn't make it urgent. Like it's just someone's
exactly.
thought that it was urgent right now. And also
Exactly.
there's like, first of all, yeah, I agree. It's like same in consulting. Like we're not doing brain surgery. Nobody's on the table bleeding out. Like this is not an actual emergency. Calm down. Um, but
Yeah.
also, the other thing is like there are like range of situations, right? Like sometimes some of the work that I did would go to court, and then there is like a court deadline, and
Oh
you do
yeah.
have to finish
Mhm.
stuff by that
Mhm.
specific date.
Yeah.
Okay, that is like a
Yeah.
little higher up in the chain, and you can prioritize
Right.
that when the time comes.
Yeah.
That is very different than like a bullshit internal deadline. Then someone's like, "We need to finish this by Friday." I'm like, "Why? Why by Friday? You just made that up." Like that's different. So,
Yeah.
and again, being from that, having managed your thoughts about it and knowing how to regulate yourself can help you see the difference between those two much more clearly. Otherwise, your brain's just like everything's an emergency running around.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah.
Exactly. It's like, you know how people say, I don't know if you have any pets, but people say like there's no better wake up alarm than like the sound of your cat or dog about to throw up. Like nothing will get you out of bed faster
Right.
than that sound. It's like your body just responds to the email inbox as if it were your pet throwing up and you're just like launched into action.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yes, for sure.
Lenny Marie says, I want to be trained in QuickBooks and use it as my skill. Friend, you're in the right place. Make sure that you are following me and to hit that daily heart me button right next to my name. Send in your daily heart me. Today we are sitting down with Maria, who is a stress and overwhelm
Burnout and stress, but yes, overall,
burnout,
all of the
stress,
things.
overwhelm coach.
All of those things you just listed. Yes,
Yes.
100%.
Yeah. So we're talking about stress management skills. Now we've gone over like in the moment, how can we kind of turn down the volume on on those feelings? Let's switch now to talking about like how do we have a practice to maintain that kind of regulation, stay in our window of tolerance, even when we're already feeling fine. Is there things that we can do to practice that regulation? Why would I want to do that if I'm feeling fine? Like I don't need to change
Right.
the way I'm feeling.
Yes. Okay, so that's where I think the combination of the somatic, the nervous system work, and the brain thought work comes in. You need both because without the somatic work, you're like in an activated state and you can't really access doing the thought work. But also, if all you do is just the somatic work and your thoughts remain the same, you keep going back to that dysregulated place. So you're all like perpetually in a cycle of like, okay, regulating, okay, now I'm stressed again, now regulating, now I'm stressed again. So like
Yeah.
adding in the thought work then helps you less frequently go into that activated state and in that stress state.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the stuff I post about here is about doing that thought work, like figuring out what is happening in your brain, what are some of those thought patterns, and how do we change them? How do we rewire? Because the brain is very adaptive. You can absolutely change your thoughts.
Mm.
I'm sure you've changed your thoughts many times in your life.
Yeah.
You have evidence of
Mm-hmm.
that. You can absolutely change the thought patterns, even if it was like a very stubborn thought pattern from a long time ago, where you're like, if
Yeah.
somebody being upset with me is an emergency, that we can change that thought pattern, even if it's like very deeply ingrained. We can start small, start with baby steps,
Yeah.
learn new thoughts tiny bit by tiny bit and rewire, and then you get to a
Mm-hmm.
place eventually where you're like, okay, might not be the worst thing in the world if someone is upset with me, and then you get to like,
Yeah.
yeah. So the combination of the cognitive work and the somatic work, I think, is the winning ticket of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The somatic work could also just look like going to the gym too. So if people have like a movement practice already, you're moving your body intentionally And it's about like connecting your mind to your body.
Yes,
And feel free to like jump in and share anything. But like if you're doing like bicep curls, you're focused on like your form, you know, and
yes,
like you're also counting. And so there is a connection between your brain and your body that you're making automatically.
for
But it
sure.
doesn't have to be a workout or anything either. It could be doing like a shaking practice or doing like a guided meditation with like a body visualization scan. There's so many different ways that you can do that.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And find what works for you. Don't like
Mm.
that's another thing that because I work a lot with perfectionists. And one thing that happens, they're like, "What's
Yeah.
the right practice and how do I do it perfectly?" I'm like, no right practice and no
Okay, tell me what
perfection.
to do now.
Exactly. Like, am I doing it? Am I the best ever at doing this practice?
Yeah.
No such thing.
Yes.
No such thing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
just play around with it. There's no right answers and no wrong answers. If you try something for the longest time, actually, like deep breathing didn't work for me. I hated it because
Mm.
everyone's like deep breathing. I'm like, this makes me more stressed. What am I doing
Yeah.
wrong?
Yeah.
So if that doesn't work for you, just try something else. Combine it with something else. Play around with it. If working out is regulating for you, amazing. Go do that. If it's not, if you just like want to do random movements, amazing. Go do that. If you
Yeah.
want to like paint, do a puzzle, do a like I don't know, bake
Yes.
some cookie, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
whatever helps you feel in the moment, connected to your body,
Mm.
connected to your senses, and regulate it. Do that, but you get to play
Yeah.
around with it and see what it is.
Totally. I love that. Baking cookies. That sounds amazing.
Fine,
Sign me up for
yeah.
that. I want to
Baking
do that
cookies.
one.
Yeah.
Yes. So I mean you brought up the perfectionist, so we gotta go there. We gotta talk
Yes.
about like, all right, so you're telling me that I need to do this every single day at the same time for this many minutes. Like that's where I mean, I'm not saying that that's what I'm doing now, but like in the past, that's where my brain would have gone. Like,
Right.
okay, well then, if I'm not doing it every day, I'm a failure, and I might as well just it's not working at all if I'm not doing it that
Mhm.
consistently. And can you just before anybody goes off about that, like,
Right. Yep, that is literally where I started when I first like hired a coach. I was like, "Tell me the
uh,
formula. I'm gonna follow it. I'm
yeah,
gonna be the best student ever." She's like,
yes,
"Stop all
A
of
plus,
that."
gold star, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, you don't have to do it for. You don't have to do it every day. Second of all, it doesn't have to be for a specific amount of time. Third of all, like there's no right or wrong way to do any of this stuff.
mm,
You get a big part of the practice is that mindset piece of like I need to do this perfectly and there's a formula. There's no formula. Like so that could be like one of our thoughts or we can do like a baby thought to get us there. Like what if
mm,
there wasn't a formula? What would it
mm-hmm,
look like if I could do this inconsistently? Like maybe like play around with it and do it only for a minute here and there.
mm-hmm,
Like let me play around. I think play my brain get out of that like
mm-hmm,
frantic place of like playing. It gets you into a more like okay,
yeah,
you can do
yeah,
whatever. So I love using that. I'm like playing around with things. That is way more valuable than thinking you need to do it in a very specific way, doing it for 3 days, then burning out because you're like that was too much, and then giving up on it.
yes.
Like playing around with 1 minute a day for 2 years is going to be so much more helpful than doing it for an hour a day for like a week and giving up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I love that. I love like doing like random messy art that's like not even a specific
Mm,
project. It's just like pulling out materials and like spraying things and putting paint over here and scribbling over there. Like it can look like that. It doesn't have
yeah.
to be a masterpiece that goes on the wall. And like doing the puzzle thing, baking cookies. Hi, Miss Gimme. Thank you so much for coming through. Make sure to grab your daily Heart Me friend and also give Maria a follow. Maria is our expert on stress, overwhelm, and burnout. So today we're doing a little panel to talk about stress management. And we've gone over first of all, how to, in the moment when you are experiencing that panic feeling, what to do. And then now we have moved on to talking about how we can do a little thing each day, but not every single day, you perfectionists out there. That's not what
Yes.
we said. Do something a little bit regularly, daily, if you can, how that can actually build you up over time to prevent more of those like panicky moments. The email landed in the inbox, and all of a sudden I'm freaking out about whether I'm going to get fired kind of situation. So
Yeah.
Maria is a stress, overwhelm, burnout coach. So y'all make sure to follow her and be tapping on that screen, friends. Okay, we need to go ahead and push the live out, share it with folks, and then tap, tap, tap on the screen. So, anything else you want to say about like somatic work, play, anti-perfectionism?
Yeah. I just had a thought and I lost it. I hate when
Yeah.
that happens. When my brain is like,
It'll
oh, I
come
know
back.
exactly what to say. Nope, I lost it. Oh, yeah, okay, I remember. With the same for the perfectionist out there, the same goes for like practicing new thoughts and like rewiring your brain. When people hear that, it sounds very intimidating, and it's actually an extremely simple, quick practice. It is like we're going to talk about what is your current thought pattern. Then we're going to find like where do you actually want to be. So if your current thought pattern is like, I'm a failure if I don't respond to every message immediately.
Yeah.
We're gonna be like, okay, where do you actually want to be in fantasy land? In fantasy land, I would like to think that I have to respond to messages and I'll be okay. And then we're gonna figure out how to bridge the gap between the current and the fantasy land. And we're gonna start very small. We're gonna be like, maybe it's possible that like sometimes it's okay. Or I've seen this other person do it and they seem okay. So maybe it's something like that. And then once we find that thought for you to practice that feels believable, practicing a new thought can be like literally seconds a day. You put a reminder on your phone, it pops up a few times a day on your phone, and you think it. How long does it think to think like to think a sentence? It's a second, right? It doesn't have to be like this intimidating hours a day you're practicing a new thought. No, you're literally just reminding yourself of that thought like twice a day, let's say, and that takes 30 seconds. And that's it. That's all you need to do, and it's still incredibly effective, and it starts rewiring your brain. But it's not like this intimidating practice. That's really scary.
So I shared earlier one of the thoughts that I had to practice for a long time, like literally every day, tell myself is there are no emergencies in accounting. There are no emergencies in bookkeeping. Is there something you're practicing right now, or maybe a thought that you were using that way in the past that kind of helped bring you closer to your fantasy land?
Yeah, oh, many thoughts. I've done like work. I've used this work in many areas of life. Like I think I've shared with you, like I've done a lot of body image work. So I've done a lot of like thoughts around that and movement. Around work, some of the thoughts that I used to practice that I now like fully believe, so I don't have to practice them anymore. Now their default are like, so and so person doesn't determine my experience of my work. Because I used to be like, well, if Mark is mean to me, then my day is like fucked. Like, okay, but what if Mark didn't have to? Mark is a made up name, obviously. But like, what if that person didn't actually have as much control over my day as I think? So I started even there. I'm like, it's possible that person doesn't have as much control of my experience as I previously thought. Exactly. Like, isn't there something
maybe Mark doesn't have it all together either? Have you ever thought about that?
I love when I like my brain works in numbers. So when I like I love being like there's a 0.1% chance that this could be possible. My brain's like, okay, fine, I'll give you 0.1%. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Can we squeak just a little bit in of like, Thank you so much, Miss Gimme, for the tiny dinos. Y'all know I love me that tiny dino. Thank you so much.
I don't know what any of those things are. This is my first time.
We hit 50% of our live goal. Hell yes.
Nice.
Okay, but how do I do that? I don't know. Miss making noises at me now. I don't know if you can hear that, but sometimes I'm still a little bit new to the whole live thing too. So if we can like, okay, but maybe there might be some possibility in some universe.
Right.
Ooh, we just hit our live goal. Thank you, Miss Gimme. My tiny dinos. How do I celebrate this, TikTok? Help me out here. Jesus Christ. Okay, well, whatever. Thank you, Miss Gimme. I appreciate you, friend. Miss Gimme is awesome. She posts inspirational videos every day. She's always looking so cute. I love it.
I love that.
Yes. So anybody have questions for Maria, or you want to tell us in the comments like what you've been stressed about lately? We've talked about like stress and panic, and I guess maybe that overwhelm kind of goes with that too. But you're also a
Hmm.
burnout coach, so maybe we can like tie these two ideas together because to me, burnout is like the experience that you have when you've stayed at that level of stress or panic for a long period of time. It's not in the moment.
Exactly.
It's like a we've been on this train for a minute.
Exactly. That's exactly it. That's like stress and overwhelm sustained over a long period of
Mm,
time leads to burnout. And you're like, okay, I can't anymore. There's too much.
yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And they are super related to me. Like one is acute and one is chronic. And you get into that
Mm,
more chronic space and you need like bigger intervention. Sometimes if it's like just
mm.
acute stress, a little regulation, a little like thought work practice. By little, I don't mean insignificant. I mean like a short period of time, like for 5 minutes could be helpful. If you're already in burnout, you need more of that intervention, more sustained over
Gotcha.
longer. And that's why also when you're in burnout, like taking a few days off is not going to help you, or like even taking like a week vacation. People are like, I thought this is going to recharge me. No,
Yeah.
because first of all, this has compounded over much longer than a week.
Yeah.
And second, if you don't do any of that work we just talked about, like some of the thought work and some of the somatic work, you go back right back to that place. So it's not
Mm,
going to help you. You're still going to be burnt out when you get back.
mm-hmm. That's such a good point that you brought up vacation because like now we're in the summertime, right? Everybody's out of school.
Yeah.
Everybody's got family summer vacations planned, and a lot of people use it as like an excuse or like something to look forward to as like finally I'll get this relief from my stress,
Mm-hmm.
my burnout, overwhelm, panic, all of that. But then it's like I just thought of this analogy like if you had a jar and you put a paper clip in it every day and then you had to carry that jar around with you all the time, you'd be going on vacation with a jar full of paper clips. And you're like, why the hell is this here with me? Oh, because that was the rule. It would
Right.
just come with you. Your brain, if you are treating yourself, and not like treating yourself in a good way, but if you're treating yourself to unmitigated like stress and overwhelm every single day, you taking it all on vacation with you. Like
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
can't just cut it out of your brain for a week and then, implant it back when you get back into the office. It's like not how our brains work, not how our bodies work, unfortunately.
Yeah. If anything, which was my experience, you go on vacation, you spend half the vacation thinking about work because you're like, fuck
Yeah.
now, especially the second half. Like the second half, you're like,
Now,
oh
yeah,
shit,
I'm about to
3 more
go
days until I
back.
have to get back, 2 more days until I have to get back. It's not
Listen,
fun at all. Yeah.
Listen, that's my husband. Like I need a vacation so bad. I'm not trying to shit talk my husband, but like he like leading up to time off, it'll be like I need a vacation so badly, and then like every single day he's like, God, I don't want to go back to work. And I'm like, hey, but we're here right now, so we could just enjoy the moment, maybe. But
Right.
that's not how
Right.
it works. If you train yourself every day to be like on that loop of like somebody's going to
Uh-huh.
email me. I'm going to get in trouble. I'm not going to finish my project by the deadline. Then the wheel continues to spin that way when
Yeah.
you are at work and not.
Your brain comes with you on vacation. That's the bad news. You're
Wow,
like
that's rude.
in the hotel room. We're like, I thought I was
Yeah.
running away from you, but you came with me. What the
Yeah.
fuck?
You open your suitcase and you're like, what is that doing here? Like, come on.
I was trying
TSA
to
is like,
escape from
ma'am,
you.
ma'am, what is this in your bag? Like, you can't get on that plane with this.
Running
Yeah.
wild is what it
So
is.
yeah, and that's such a
Yeah.
good like thing to touch on is like if you actually do want to enjoy your daily life and not feel stressed out every day, but especially if you want to enjoy your vacations and the time that you do set aside to like treat yourself and to relax, it's worthwhile to do that work
Yeah.
consistently too. Yeah.
100%. And also, and that was surprising to me because I thought vacations stole everything. You also have to do that work while on vacation. Like you don't
Yeah.
get to stop, like because vacations can also be dysregulating. Like you're on airplanes, then you're like in
Listen.
hotel rooms, then things don't go as you
Oh
plan,
my
and then you're
god.
So like all of those tools that
Your
kept
flight gets
you
delayed 20 minutes and all of a sudden the world
exactly,
is ending. Yeah, exactly.
exactly. So all the
Hmm.
same tools that helped you when you were getting those emails are also going to help you when like you get that text that the flight is delayed and now you have to figure something out and yeah,
Yeah. I
communications. Yeah.
I know you shared a story not on this live, so I'm not going to recount it, but it just made me think like I, from the time I was 9 years old, was flying unaccompanied. So
Mm,
like by myself to go like visit my grandma. Like my mom just like put me on the plane. My grandma was at the gate when I landed, you know.
yeah.
So I have flown by myself since I was 9 years old. Like when I was 16, I was able to not fly as an unaccompanied minor, but just as a regular passenger and stuff. And
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, it's just so interesting how your experience can vary so differently from person to person about like travel, work, everything. But it truly does come down to like whether or not you can create that emotional safety in the moment. And
Yeah.
I was just like, damn, like, that is so, my story is so different for so many reasons. But it was like, yeah, like going on a plane by myself. Actually, one of the first times I flew by myself as a kid, I met Chuck Norris. He was on my flight.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got him just, I was like a horse girl at that point, and so I had like my horse book, and he like signed my horse book
I
for
love that for
me.
you. That is a
Yeah,
great
so
story.
I'm like, I'm going to summer vacation. I'm gonna see my grandma. I'm gonna have a fun time with my cousins. Chuck Norris is on the plane. Like everything was just so exciting and fun. And I also am the oldest
Yeah.
daughter, so I'm like, get me away from my siblings. I love my alone time and doing something by
Right.
myself. So it's
Yeah.
just so interesting how different or how those experiences can vary. And it comes down to like us being able to, well, not as a child, but like as an adult,
Yeah.
being able to create that sense of safety,
Mm.
not panicking, staying regulated, and how much that can change your experience.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I don't mind sharing that story. I appreciate you you not sharing it, but I don't mind sharing the story. But what
Yeah.
Reagan was referring to is like I'm currently working on like something that's like a really deep pattern for me, which is like a lot of stress around airline or airplane travel. And for me, it comes down to what I've discovered is like my very first experience flying on a plane was when I was 19 and I left. I'm from Bulgaria. I left Bulgaria to come to the US all alone. First time on air in an airport.
Yeah.
My dad had to like explain to me what airport security is. I was like, I have no idea
Mm.
what I'm doing. Like all the things I'm like leaving my parents behind, leaving my country behind, get on the plane
Mm.
alone. It was so scary and so lonely. So my body is like
Mm.
just remembers that. So every time I see an
Mm.
airport, even on a TV show, I see an airport and
Yeah.
my body's like, no, I'm like scared of.
Yeah.
So I'm doing some of that work on for myself right now to like regulate around trips and just be patient with my body when it goes into that
Yeah.
stress response because that's what it's learned.
I Something that I've learned in therapy is that like when you are having that experience, like, oh, I saw someone on an airplane on TV, my body isn't on there. I'm not even near an
Right,
airport, but like
right.
your body doesn't know the difference between that feeling right now and the memory that you have. It's just
Mhm.
like, oh, that's happening right now. It's responding as if it's happening right now.
Yeah,
And like, of course, then you're like, but why am I feeling this? Doesn't make sense. And it's like, well, from a somatics perspective or a nervous system perspective, it actually does make sense because our bodies
hmm,
just bring that emotion back up for us. Like, here you
yeah.
go. Like, here's how you were
Here's
feeling at 19. Yeah.
yeah, and your brain also like jumps in and plays the same track that it was playing back then. I mean, the same thing
Yeah.
happens when people come to me and they're like, "What is
Yeah.
wrong with me that an email sent me into a panic? Like an email is not
Yeah.
a lion trying to eat me. Why am
Right.
I panicked?" I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Well, let's talk about it. I'm sure there's
Yeah.
a reason, like
Mm-hmm.
somatically, and like there's something in your past where finding someone was dangerous or like having something urgent, whatever it is, it's individual, of course. But let's figure it
Yeah.
out instead of you just
Exactly.
yelling at yourself that you're experiencing it. Like, let's figure out why you're
Yeah.
experiencing it and how do we start shifting it.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate you sharing that experience with us. Because I think especially now, like so many people are going to relate to that feeling like Um, I think a lot of people now are just like, well, when do I know when I have to do something? And it's like before we start going down that road, let's bring it back in because what's happening right now is that you don't need to be going anywhere or doing anything different from your day to day. More than likely, if you're sitting here scrolling on
Right.
TikTok, you don't need to be
Right.
planning some activity. And so it's like, how am I gonna know when the time is to like take action?
You know.
And yeah, the part of the work is like learning to trust your body too.
Yes.
Like if it's going into panic, trust that you're being communicated something. And
Yes.
like let's look into it so that when something actually is happening and you do need to take action, you will have
Mm-hmm.
developed that trust with your body to say, I hear you, like something's going on, let me tune
Yeah.
in. And I think like this is such good work for when we see a video on TikTok, but also more importantly, if we see something happening in our community or outside or in our
Mm-hmm.
environment, like that we can respond appropriately without an over response of like dysregulation that is like
Right.
not actually matching what's happening or not responding at all because you're so numb to like
Yes.
you've done so much numbing and so much shoving down those feelings of stress and panic and overwhelm that you can't tune in when you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing in addition to what you just said, which is 100% agree with, one other thing I would recommend is from a cognitive perspective is even just asking your brain, can you give me some examples of when in the past I just knew when something was wrong,
Mm.
I knew. And just
Mm.
sort of
Yeah.
remembering that experience of like, yeah, when something is actually wrong, I know. There's no question. In that moment, I'm not like, well, is it? Is it? You know, like something's not right here. Something is wrong. Spidey senses going off.
Yeah.
You kind of
Yeah.
know. But like just reminding
Yeah.
yourself of that and looking for some examples on
Mm.
that and being like, yeah, okay, I have that capacity to know
Mm.
when I do need to take action.
That's so good. I love that because yeah, we all have had times where like, oh,
Mhm.
that could have gone differently, and I'm really glad that I
Yeah,
responded the way I did. Yeah, I think that's great.
100%.
Well, I know that you were probably getting close to time that you needed to go. Is there anything else you want to share about our topic? And also, let obviously people can follow you from here, but I'm going to repost this to YouTube. So just leave us all the details so that we can find you.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, so as Reagan said, I'm a burnout and stress management coach. I help people like feel less overwhelmed and less exhausted and hopefully help them not get to that burnout stage. But if you are already in the burnout stage, I also help you get out of
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you can follow me on this app, which is TikTok. And my handle is rest underscore over underscore grind. So rest over grind with underscores between each word. You can same handle on the other apps if you want to search
Mm-hmm.
for me there.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, you can. My website is restovergrinds.com if you want to go there
Nice.
and either book like a call to chat with me. If you are relating to all the things you just heard, you're like, yeah, okay, I
Yeah.
need to. I want to finally fix these. Like it's
Perfect.
time. I've been living with this
Yes.
for too long. It's time to do something about
Yeah.
it. Then head over there and we can chat. You can also like link in my bio. You can find the book a
Mm-hmm.
consultation call link and another resource which is free. You can go watch. I put together 3 videos recently
Mm-hmm.
super helpful with of the 3 things that I find. I'm calling these like the 3 P's of exhaustion because they're like the 3 things that I find come up a lot in my work and are really exhausting and tiring for people are perfectionism. We talked about that. People pleasing. We talked a bit about that too indirectly. And also procrastination of like if you're finding yourself just losing time, wasting time, and then having to like catch up, work late. You're constantly like just not doing the things that you should be doing. I There's videos on each of the 3 P's. Again, link in my bio or websites restovergrind.com to watch these.
Okay.
They're all free and they like are short and have like really specific exercises to help you solve these things.
We love a worksheet. We love an exercise. So just to be clear, that is when people sign up for your email list, they get that video series for free.
Yeah, so you get, once you go to that link in my bio or to my website, you click on the 3Ps link. And all you need to do is enter your email, and you get an email with like all the three links of the
I
three
love
videos.
that. That's such a great idea too. Like, okay, we've kind of broken it down for us girlies that love a numbered list and a bullet list
Yeah.
and a checklist. Like a 3-step process to identify like where my where am I burnt out and how can I like actually start making steps towards um,
Yes.
getting some relief. I love it.
And yeah, and I intentionally made these short because I
Mm.
don't have, I always feel
We're all
like I don't
busy.
have time, and all the people I work with are always like short on time. So I'm like, yep, the videos are like less than 7 minutes each. So you're
Gotcha.
not gonna be spending hours watching videos. Like 20
Perfect.
minutes total. Yeah.
Perfect. Amazing. All right. Anything else you can think of? I'll make sure to get with you to put all of that info in the description of the YouTube video and stuff. And I'll send you the link as well so you can distribute it. What else should we know about you, working with you? Anything you'd like to share?
Um, I want to share. I mean, so right now I work with people just one on one. So if you work
Mm-hmm.
with me, it's gonna be like this experience that I just had with Radar. It's just gonna be the two of us chatting,
Yeah.
basically, and me helping you work through stuff.
Yeah.
The only other thing I want to offer is, and I was in that space for a long time, so I want to address like
Mm.
Maria from 5 years ago. Is
Mm.
don't try to do this on your own. Like you don't have to try to
Oh,
fight
yeah.
through this on your own for so long. Because for so
Yes.
long I was like, no, I can DIY it. I can figure shit out. I
Yeah.
can like watch all the videos online and figure it out. It doesn't help when it's your own brain and your own nervous system. Having someone
Yeah.
there to guide you through it can like exponentially help you like get there faster, so much faster.
Literally couldn't have said it better because I don't know if you have siblings, but like I'm the oldest daughter,
I
and I think
don't.
that's just like a you know, like a whole experience of like I'm just gonna do it myself. Like, you know, I can handle it. I'm
Can
strong
handle it
enough and
exactly,
yeah. And no, it's
exactly.
actually it's gonna go better if there are people. Not saying that you have to, but like your experience of the work will probably be better to have people there who are just like, good job. Like just giving you
Yes.
validation. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, if another concern, which is another concern I had, is like, well, I don't have time. I'm already overwhelmed. How do I have time to like
Mm.
now go on coaching calls? These coaching calls are gonna save you time. I promise. You're gonna spend 45 minutes with me, and then you're gonna open up a number of hours in the week based on what we
Yeah.
discussed and all the work we did. It's kind of like the metaphor somebody once shared that I love. The visual is like you're trying to like swim through the ocean, and someone's like, "I can get you on a plane faster." You're like, "I don't have time for this. I'm swimming right now. Like,
Yeah.
don't make me get out and pack and get on a plane. I'm too busy
Right.
swimming." Right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, but yeah.
And think about it like you're gonna go get your massage or your pedicure or something, but it's for your brain. Like you're gonna
Yes,
feel
exactly.
restored afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah. And those of
100%.
us who love a checklist, I mean, couldn't have offered a more
I'm
juicy.
100% the checklist, numbers, spreadsheets. I'm your person.
Yes, I've seen your spreadsheets. I can attest. They're delicious. Thank you so much for joining me,
Thank
Maria.
you.
Everybody watching, make sure to check out Maria's links and connect with her. Get on her email list to get those free videos and start working on your stress and burnout. Start today. Like, you know, the whole you should have planted a tree 100 years ago kind of thing. Like, now is the perfect time
Mhm.
to do it. So go ahead and connect with Maria. Thanks so much for joining on the live with me. I had so much fun. This is awesome. I'm gonna be like hitting other people up, like, get over here. We're gonna do a live together.
Me too. Thank you so
This
much
was
for having
fun.
me. This was
You're
amazing.
welcome. I'm gonna probably hang on for another 15 minutes or so, but if you need to go, that's fine.
Yeah, I need to head out, but thank you so much. It
Okay.
was
You're
great.
welcome. I'll see you
Bye.
later. Bye. Let me see if I can disconnect. Yes. Okay. Perfect. Ooh, that was so good, y'all. Thanks again to Maria for sharing her beautiful knowledge with us. It was awesome, awesome, awesome. So, friends, I am going to be posting the entire replay of our live today over on YouTube. We'll have all of the links and things to connect with Maria in the description. Just a quick note for my followers who are here. This was our daily weekday live with me, your numbers witch. I will try to go live tomorrow, Thursday. Friday I will be out of office, so I'm probably not going to do a live Friday. It kind of depends on my schedule. We'll see. But for now, I'm not planning on doing a live on Friday. Next week, we'll be back to our regular lives. And also, you guys know this because I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now consistently. And if you haven't heard yet, we are enrolling for the Spellbound Books Academy. This is my mentorship program for freelance bookkeepers. So those bookkeepers who are wanting to build a bookkeeping business, who are wanting to bring in new bookkeeping clients, I am accepting 2 people into the Spellbound Books Academy, okay? We are enrolling right now. Enrollment closes on July 7th, 2025. This is the last time in 2025 that I'm accepting mentorship clients. We will not enroll again until 2026. So I just want y'all to know that because there's only 12 days left to get enrolled. If you have questions about enrollment, you're not sure, like, okay, but what does that actually entail? What am I going to be doing? I will explain all of it to you in the DMs. You can also book a free call with me, but the link in my profile does have the link to go ahead and get enrolled. And if you want to meet with me before enrolling and get your questions answered, on the interest list, there is a sign up for the interest list where you can get on a free call with me. Okay, but time is actually running out for the free calls. So that is why I opened up the enrollment links so that you can go ahead and get in there. Okay, that link on my profile also has all of the information about what we're doing inside mentorship, what you can expect from being mentored by me, what my goals are for you for the 6-month program, how I want your business to change and improve. And if your business goals are in alignment with that, then you need to go ahead and sign up at the link in my profile, okay? So questions, send me a DM, get on the interest list for, the Spellbound Books Academy, and I'll reach out to you about setting up a free call. Next week has opened up. There are a lot more spots for calls with me, so make sure that you check that out, okay? That's going to be all from me today. Again, thank you, Maria, for being my amazing guest. Thanks to everybody who came in and helped boost the live by tapping, sharing, getting their daily heart me, sending in gifts. I love you all so much, and I really appreciate you. So I hope everybody has an amazing Wednesday, and I'll be back hopefully tomorrow and maybe on Friday. So have an amazing rest of your week. I'll see you soon.